What's up, guys? It is IRGT85. Happy Tuesday, but surprise, surprise, we have video game news to talk about. A couple stories going on that I want to cover right now, so if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video as well. But without any further ado, let's jump into today's topics. And the first topic we're going to talk about is, well, kind of a non-topic in my opinion, but lots of people are running with it, so I titled my video appropriately. So if you look up any of these other videos, you'll probably will see mine and maybe get some more truth on this subject. So Nintendo Direct, it's trending on Twitter right now. People are making videos saying that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct this week, and I'm like, why? Like, you know, I understand there's a lot of hype around the September Nintendo Direct, and I definitely think one is going to happen, but the source of this rumor, the source of this speculation is Zippo, who is someone that we've talked about lots before on this channel. Zippo has gotten some things right, a lot of things wrong, so I tend to give things a grain of salt when it comes to Zippo talking about things. Well, Zippo said that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct this week, and really, the speculation is based on the fact that, of course, Nintendo has done their last two Nintendo Directs for the month of September very early in the month. But when you look at this, how this month is playing out, like, it's not happening this week. In order for a Nintendo Direct to happen, usually you have at least a day of notice or something like that. Usually 1 day of notice if it's a Nintendo Direct Mini, or if it's a full-on Nintendo Direct, you get 2 days. Now, right now, it is August 31st, which is Tuesday. So if Nintendo were to do a Nintendo Direct this week, they're not going to do it on Friday. They would do it on Thursday of this week. So if they're going to do one this week, they would announce it, well, today. We would already have the announcement if it was a full-on Nintendo Direct. And I guess maybe tomorrow they could announce a Nintendo Direct Mini, but I'm just not putting my hopes and expectations in that it's going to be this week, because they don't do things on Friday normally. And yes, Nintendo could buck the trend with this situation, but I don't really see them doing that. Now, do I think there's going to be a Nintendo Direct this month? Yes, I definitely do. They want to talk about their holiday lineup of games, give you guys more details about it. The Mario Party online game, there's still a ton of stuff we don't know about that, and I feel like that would be something good for a Nintendo Direct. I'm sure there'll be some surprises and updates on games as well, talking about the first half of 2022 as well. So it does make sense for this to happen, but all because of the fact that Nintendo has done their directs early in the month for the past 2 years. I don't think that's really enough to sort of go on. Now, of course, you could go on the fact that Nintendo has done Nintendo Directs in the month of September, and I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point in time. It just sort of makes sense. But a lot of people, like I said, they're talking about a Nintendo Direct this week happening, and I just don't think that's fair. I think people are going to get their expectations up and then sort of be disappointed with it. So I'm trying to be the voice of reason for once. I am trying to be the man that gives you the actual stuff going on, and I just don't see a Nintendo Direct happening this week. I talked to people off the record, said, hey, Nintendo Direct this week, and they're like, no, we haven't heard anything. And if these people haven't heard anything, more than likely this event isn't going to be happening this week. So bring back your expectations. Yes, you'll probably get a Nintendo Direct this month, but you gotta wait a little bit. Patience is a virtue, my children, and patience is a good thing to have when it comes to video games, especially considering how many video games are being delayed into other years and things of that nature. But supposedly our next story sort of ties in with this Nintendo Direct stuff as well, because we are talking about Game Boy on the Nintendo Switch. Now, time and time again, we've talked about Game Boy games coming to the Nintendo Switch. For Nintendo, it seems like the most logical system to add to the virtual console for the subscription service of the system, the online portion of the system or whatever. We got NES, we got Super Nintendo. They've pretty much forgotten about those, or just adding random games that don't make sense and nobody has nostalgia for, so it's time to add in a new system. And a couple weeks ago on the channel, I made a video talking about Game Boy games potentially coming to the Nintendo Switch this fall, because it seems like something that makes sense. It seems like something Nintendo will do, and there is a little bit of background for this and sort of precedent for it to be happening. Well, Nate and MVG, our favorite little British boy, please sir, may I have some more? They did, of course, the Nate the Hate podcast the other day, and now all these websites are running with the fact that because they did this podcast, that this is going to be happening, and it's going to be happening very soon. Game Boy and Game Boy Color and potentially Game Boy Advance games are coming to the Nintendo Switch Switch's online service. But if you listen to the podcast and you talk to them, it was pretty much just them sort of shooting the shit, sort of speculating on this, much like my video was. From timeline perspective, it does make sense. It does make sense for Nintendo to add in a new system because it's been a while, and obviously they've sort of forgotten about, or maybe are just getting to the bottom of the barrel of NES and Super NES games that they could potentially add to the service. I mean, look at that last month of the lineup of games that we got, and nobody cares. Nobody cares about those games. So like I said, they did their episode of the Nate the Hate podcast talking about the potential for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance to be coming to the Switch based on some stuff that was actually found in 2019 via emulator codes, and they think that it's a safe bet. But since then, like, every website in the world has been running with this and saying that this is pretty much going to be happening later on this year and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, why? Did you listen to the podcast? Did you just read the title of the video? Or did you actually listen to what they were talking about in this and just sort of speculating on it? Now, one thing I do find interesting is that a couple websites such as Nintendo Life have actually said that they have heard things like this when it comes to the Game Boy. Now, I don't know if I'm the source for them because, once again, I was just sort of speculating on the Game Boy coming to the Nintendo Switch. I didn't really have any concrete information, just it sort of made sense. And now they are running with it, saying that they have heard from other sources that this is indeed happening. So I kind of tend to believe that maybe, just maybe, Nintendo Life wanted a reason to write an article about this or a news story about this, but they needed somebody else to talk about it. And I guess I'm not good enough, and Nate is, and MVG is. So they used that to sort of catapult the fact that they have heard the same sort of thing. So I think that's where things get very interesting, because it's not sort of speculation with their point, but they're saying that they have actually heard this and that this is actually something that's going to be coming to fruition. Now, the rumor is that it'll be Game Boy, Game Boy Color to start, and then Game Boy Advance will be added in along the way. And I think that sort of makes sense. I mean, you have a ton of Game Boy games, you have a ton of Game Boy Color games to look at. Game Boy Color is one of the most underrated systems of all time. And then, of course, you have the vast library for the Game Boy Advance with some really great games on there and some really impressive graphics. Now, once again, we also have Nintendo releasing the Nintendo Switch OLED model, and there's going to be new people picking up this system. There's going to be people getting into the Nintendo Switch for the first time, or potentially upgrading their Nintendo Switch, or just getting a secondary one when this system launches, because it definitely will show its strengths when you play this system in handheld mode. So I think these Game Boy games would look absolutely fantastic on this Nintendo Switch OLED model. So maybe they can launch it around in October when Metroid Dread and the Nintendo Switch OLED also drops. You could be like, hey, we dropped a new system. We dropped a new big game that's not going to sell 3 million copies. It's going to sell like 2.9 million copies. Oh, and by the way, we also added in Game Boy and Game Boy Color to our Nintendo Switch Online service. It would be something very cool, and of course, there is precedent set for it. Of course, the Nintendo Wii and the Nintendo Wii U also had a vast variety of Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games added to it, but you could just buy those instead of getting an a la carte-like service, but that's a topic for another day. But yes, the Nintendo Direct stuff, I'm not holding my breath on it being this week. I think there will be one in the month of September. I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, but there's not really any indication that it's happening this week, and considering the fact that we are on Tuesday, I think this would have been announced by now. And the Game Boy stuff, like I said, it just sort of makes sense. Nate and MVG were pretty much just speculating on stuff, no real insider information, but now with other websites coming out and saying that they have heard the same thing, I think it definitely lends a lot of credence to it. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and claim it. I was first. All right, I was first. I did it 2 weeks ago or whatever. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago or whatever, but everyone's just copying me. Everyone is just on my jock right now with this Game Boy stuff. I'm just kidding around, it was just me shooting the shit, speculating and talking about stuff, but definitely some interesting stuff happening. To briefly summarize, do I think a Nintendo Direct is happening this month? Yes, I do. Do I think it's happening this week? No, I don't. Game Boy is probably coming to the Nintendo Switch. It makes the most sense for it to be the next game, but do I think it's necessarily any sort of indication based on the podcast that it is going to be happening and potentially announced at this Nintendo Direct that's not happening this week? No, I'm not quite sure on that, but I definitely think they will add this to the system, and I think we probably will see it in the year of 2021. So let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. Like I said, the whole point of this video was to sort of try to navigate away from the clickbaity sort of stuff and just sort of give you guys the actual information and the actual facts, where this stuff is coming from, why people are talking about it, and whether or not you should believe in it. So let me know in the comments if you believe in this stuff. Do you think a Nintendo Direct is happening this week? Because I mean, I really don't. And will Game Boy be the next system added to the Nintendo Switch Online service, or is Nintendo just like, you know what, we're done. We're done with the online service. You know, people keep complaining about these games. Assholes like RGT85 keep complaining about the quality of games that we're adding to the thing, so we're not doing it anymore. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video as well. It is the last day of August. Where the hell does time go? And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.